sexy, except to the people that are in the industry. You guys are in a fun industry. I mean, look at, nobody wears a red hat when they're not happy. And I love all the stuff that you can get. And it's really made me, like, we have a pretty big company and we buy a lot of stuff. And it really made me think, I have no rhyme or reason in what the strategy is. And I feel really guilty. Like, we're buying pens, we're buying books, and nobody on my team is spending any time thinking about what the strategy is. Like, literally, my marketing team comes in one day and says, we should get a bunch of plastic sharks. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I sign up on it, and then we have pens. But I was thinking backstage, why don't we have a strategy? And then I'm thinking back to what's the best thing I ever got. And it was a package one time from American Express. And the reason I still remember it to this day is it made an emotional connection with me. It made me, as a customer of American Express, feel really special. And I think that's really important when you can get a connection to a customer. Because if you think about it, when you wake up in the morning, how many things do you see every day? How much noise and clutter there is? And then I have to call my customer and say, hi! And people aren't that excited to talk to me. You know, what we say to our salespeople is, you gotta stand out. People never remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And junior salespeople in my company, you know, they come up and do a speech, they always go through every point, and then memorize every line, and then I'm like, you know, no one cares. No one is going to remember the fourth word on the seventh slide. It's how you make people feel. And what's amazing about your industry is you give people the ability to make an emotional connection. As the world gets faster, and you'll hear everybody says, oh, everything's about online, everything's about online. The faster the world gets, the more important that emotional connection is, because it's harder and harder to get. One of our customers is a company called Skechers, and it was started by Robert Griffin, I think his last name is, I'm not sure. He started LA Theater and he started Skechers. He has this amazing quote, which I love, and it's, unseen, untold, unsold. If you can't tell the world about yourself, and if you can't promote your company, no one's going to buy from you. So I'm not a sales guy. I have my own business, just like many people. Who in this room has their own business? Wow. Isn't it great? Isn't it really crappy some days? You know, whenever I speak to people who have their own business, I say, do you ever have those really bad days where you doubt everything? And if people don't go, yeah, I'm like, you don't care enough. Because if you don't have a bad day at work, you just don't care enough. Because it's not all roses and sunshine, it's a lot of hard stuff. But the promotional part of it allows customers to make that connection with people. Years ago, I used to work for Warren Avis, the guy who started Avis Rent-A-Car. And Warren was a legend. And I was this young kid, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. So I was just this immigrant kid, and in my family, being a salesman was like selling coffins. You know, like, you couldn't have had a worse job. And so I come from Eastern Europe. I was born in a country called Yugoslavia, which is a communist country. I'll tell you about it. But, you know, if you made a lot of money in Yugoslavia, like if you saw a guy drive down the street in a nice car, people didn't go, wow, that's so empowering. They would say, well, who did he, you know, what did he steal to make that money? So where I come from, people respected education. Like if you were a lawyer, it was like, whoa, or a doctor. Ooh, but if you're a businessman, you're like, when I first wanted to start my own business, I went to my mom and I said, I'm going to start my own business. And my mom's like, oh. a job one day. But, so that was me, and my degree, which makes me incredibly qualified to start my own business, my degree is in classical English literature. So, you know, I've been the keynote speaker at Harvard and USC and all these fancy schools, and I always get up there and say, thank you very much for having me, because the only way I would ever get here is if you hired me to speak, because I never had the marks. I got to tell you a funny story. So why do I have a degree in classical English literature? I finished high school, and we have no money. We're poor. And somewhere along the way, I never thought about being rich. I just got tired of being poor. You know, and Mark Cuban and I had this discussion. He's like, oh, when I was 11, I wanted to make $1 billion and buy a jet and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you know, when I was 11, I just didn't want to worry about food. I didn't want to live the way we live. I just wanted to be better. And so I started thinking, how do I make money? Maybe I should learn about business. So I go to university, and I win a scholarship for accounting. Where I'm living, they run an accounting contest, and I win it, and I get $5,000 to go study business. So I go there for 6 months, and I'm like, oh my God, accounting is the worst thing. If I have to do this for a living, I will never. So I drop out. I just go home. So my dad is this tough Eastern European guy, barely spoke English, you know, swept floors in the factory. He was the youngest of 15, and his father died while his mother was carrying him in the womb. So you could, you know, I could go home and say to my dad, I just broke my leg, I got hit by a car. He'd be like, it's nothing! You don't know! So you did not want to complain to my dad. So I come home one day, and I'm sitting around, and my dad comes home from work early. He says, why are you home? I said, oh, you know, university, not for me. I'm just going to get a job. Get make a living, make my way in the world. And my dad was not a feely, fluffy, huggy kind of guy. So he comes up to me, like that far away from my face, and he says, you listen, love you, you don't go back to school, kill you, bury body in backyard. I was the first person in my entire dad and mom's generation that ever went to post-secondary education. And so I had to go back. So I go back, I'm like, well, I hate accounting, what can I get a degree in? And the lady I knew was taking classical English literature. And I'm like, how does that work? She's like, well, you show up on Monday, they give you an 800-page book, you read it, you come back on Friday, and you argue about it. I'm like, oh yeah! Sign me up for that. So that's how I got my degree. And then when I graduated, my mom thought I had gone back for business. So she comes to the graduation ceremony, she goes, what your degree in? And I was like, English literature. She says, but you know English. So it wasn't a great degree. So I start that way, and I got a job, I'm working for Warren Davis, and he was great. And I'll never forget this, I think I was like 23 or something, and he said to me, you're a very nice kid, but you don't know anything. And one of the things that I always remember from him was brand everything. Brand everything. And the smaller you are, the more you need to brand, and the more consistent you have to be with the strategy. And I've always remembered that. Every company I've started, I've been fanatical about branding. So you look at our logo, I designed the logo, it's a wax seal. And so the reason it's a wax seal is, in security, that was the first form of security. In the 1200s, when you sent the letter, they put a wax seal on it. And if the seal was tampered with, you knew somebody had opened it. And so that's how I came up with the logo. And when we were in a company of one employee, me, it was that seal. And we're a company of 350 people and about to be 700 in a couple of weeks. It was that seal. And it's always been the same seal, and it's always 3 colors, and we brand it on everything. In my company, you're allowed to wear 2 things: a suit or a logo shirt. That's it. You can't wear anything else. And it amazes me when people complain about that. You know, sometimes we hire people and go, oh, no, I don't want to wear a logo shirt because it's not cool. And, you know, I always say to them, let me ask you a question. You're at home, an air conditioning salesman or a repair guy shows up, or a lady shows up at the house. One looks like a slob, and one is wearing a logo shirt with the company. Who do you subconsciously feel has more credibility? And so we're very comfortable with that. You can wear whatever you want, as long as it's a suit or a logo shirt with our. And so we put our logo on everything. We have custom license plates. We give out pens. Well, now, where do you buy those pens? We give out leather books. We got to find cooler stuff to give people, because the problem, as I'm sitting in front of you, I'm realizing is we're like everybody else. We have to find something unique that connects our brand to our customers. But it amazes me how many companies don't understand that. They think of logo, brand, and promotion just as a giveaway. But it's really part of your brand. So I bought 13 companies in the last 12 years in my real business, not including Shark Tank. And there's a variety of things I follow to try to think, is this company going to make it? And so I ask them all these strict questions. You know, one of the questions I ask is, what's your forecast for next year? Great companies have a target. Great companies wake up and say, we have a goal. That's my target. We're going to get there. Companies that not so great say, you know, we're going to do the best that we can, because they're afraid to put themselves out there. But one of the things that I've always found, great companies believe in their brand. And marketing isn't a dirty word for it. It's something that they believe in, always. So, anyway, I just find it so interesting. One time I had dinner with Roger Penske, and he said the same thing to me. And I'm such a huge race car guy. It was my wife and I, and it was Roger Penske at a race. I'm like, oh, it's Roger Penske! And my wife was like, who's Roger Penske? So for those of you that don't know, he was a professional race car driver, didn't think he could make a living doing that, so he started Penske, which is a big trucking company and all kinds of stuff. And they put Penske on everything, right? They put it on the trucks, they put it on everything. Interesting side note, companies brand their trucks, but they don't put their name on the jets, which I always found interesting. You go to a private jet airport, you see lots of corporate jets, people don't have their logo on it. And I maybe because it's a dirty word today to have a plane or something, I just don't know why they do it. Anyway, I just find that so interesting. You guys are in such a fun industry and do such cool stuff. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go tell you a little bit about the show. And by the way, I've heard you had every other shark here. You guys must get some kind of a group shark discount. So you have Damon, you have Kevin, you have Barbara, and here's what people typically say to me. They say, oh, you're the nice shark. Or they say to me, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way at all, so you're the good-looking shark. And I always say to people, the bar is not very high. Yes, I'm that compared to Kevin. So, you know, who here watches Shark Tank? Thank you. Who here watches Dancing with the Stars? I'll be honest, I had more fun on Dancing with the Stars than I had on Shark Tank. But I'll tell you about that. Interesting side note, I've been on the show now for 10 years. We've won 4 Emmys. I'm actually pretty old, but time filming one season of Dancing with the Stars than 10 years of Shark Tank. Shark Tank is the easiest gig in Hollywood. I don't know how much Barbara or Kevin lied to you about how hard it is. It couldn't be easier. Seriously, it couldn't be easier. Here's an average day on Shark Tank. We show up at 7 in the morning. We get hair and makeup, for those of us that have hair. And we sit there, the doors open, we know nothing about them. We didn't even know their name. And we start asking them questions. And that's it. The average pitch is about an hour. No matter how long or short, it gets edited into 7 minutes. That's it. There's no time limit, there's no script, there's no like, oh, let's do it again. I wish Robert would say this. We just talk. We film with 18 cameras. And so it's super easy. So I'm on TV, there's 40 new episodes a season, and I think we're on 3 hours a day with repeats, 365 days a year. I film 11 days a year. That's it. And never 3 in a row, 5 in June and some like 6 in September. And we complain about it like little spoiled children all day long. Like, oh my God, why does it have to be at night? Why can't we do it in 10? So they asked me to do Dancing with the Stars, and my team says, oh, that's a big time commitment. So I look at the first page of the contract. We're 40 new episodes. Dancing with the Stars is 12 episodes. I'm thinking, how much time can I possibly take? Plus, I can't dance. So I'll get kicked out. This will be easy. I was on the show 75 days in a row. I rehearsed 10 to 11 hours a day, every single day. I was in the best shape of my life. Like, I would go to the cafeteria without my shirt on. You know, the producer would like, we need somebody in the background without a shirt. I'm like, because I will never be in that kind of shape again. 10 to 11 hours a day. I spent more time filming than the entire 10 years of Shark Tank. And it was super, super hard. So the reason I did the show, because I really don't know how to dance. I still don't know how to dance. I tried to get my wife, who was my partner, to teach me to dance, so I could, go to a business meeting and people say, hey, you're on Dancing with the Stars. You must be a good dancer. So I thought it'd be cute if I could say, well, I don't really know how to dance, but watch this. So she spent a month trying to teach me like 7 tap moves, and after a month she gave up. So I can't even do that. But they asked me to do the show. I was the first celebrity that season that they asked. And I didn't, without even thinking about it, I said yes right away. So I got to tell you a story. My very first audition tape for Shark Tank, before I was even on the show, they asked all the sharks a standard question: why do you want to be famous? And my answer was, so I can get on Dancing with the Stars movie. And the reason was, this is so you gotta keep my word, we come from Eastern European, poor, my dad loved cars, my mom loved Dancing with the Stars. Like, in her world where she had a very difficult life, watching those people, like, that was her dream. The fancy dancing, it was just this life that she never had. It took her to a place that she could have only imagined. And so, like, if you called my house on a Monday night when the show was on, if I called my mom, she'd be like, why you call show on? So my mom ended up getting very ill, and she went to the hospital. This is years ago, before I was even on TV. She had ovarian cancer. So every Monday, I'd go to the hospital, and her and all the other ladies would watch Dancing with the Stars. And she said to me, one day, you think you'd be on the show. I wasn't even on TV. I'm not a TV guy. And I said to her, Absolutely. If I ever get a chance to be on TV, I will be on Dancing with the Stars. And many years later, that's why I did the show. So I do the show. That's the good part of the story. Here's the downside. I didn't even think about it. So 3 months go by from when they asked me to do it to when the show starts. And my team's starting to lose their mind because they're like, it's going to take up a lot of time. I'm like, don't worry about it. So now it's 3 weeks before the first show. And for those of you that haven't watched it, the story will make sense in a sec. So I've never danced. So the first meeting is you meet your pro. And it's supposed to be this big reveal where you walk in and you meet them and they're like, oh my God, it's you, and blah, blah, blah. It's all exciting and stuff. So they have this all set up. I walk into the room. My partner was Kim Johnson, who was a world ballroom champion. She's one of the top dancers in the world. She's won the show more than any other women. So I walk in and she goes, oh my God, it's you! And I hear, let's do that again. So I go outside and I walk in this time and she goes, oh my God, it's you, Robert! She had no idea who I was. And so here's the kind of, her mom knew who I was. Her mom goes, oh, he's the nice one, he'll be fine. She was working in Australia. So I meet Kimmy and she says, show me some dance moves. I'm like, I don't dance. She's like, okay, you're at home by yourself, the music comes on, how would you move? I'm like, I don't understand the question. That's how we started. 3 weeks later, now keep in mind, Kim's been dancing since she was 2 years old. 3 weeks later, I think I'm the best dancer in the world. I'm like, I don't know why she's been dancing since she was 2, because in 3 weeks, I've mastered the cha-cha. I'm going from, I'm going to get kicked off right away to thinking, wow, where am I going to put the trophy? Should I have it at the office? Will they give me 2 of them? Don't know. That's my level of confidence until the day before the first show. They're very clever. They've never shown you the actual stage. The day before the first show, they bring you out into the stage, and it's massive. There's 1,000 people live, 15 million people watching at home, and they say to you, thank you very much for coming. By the way, it's a live show. And you're like, yeah, of course I get that on TV all the time. And like, what we mean by that is, the camera is on you for 1 minute and 40 seconds, even if you fall down. And you're like, oh my God, it's a live show. And I said to Kimmy, I can't do it. So the next day comes around, and it's 10 minutes before the show, and I'm losing my mind, I can't do it. And Kimmy's come up with this really incredible routine where I'm sitting like a shark in the chair, and then she comes out to pitch, although none of the pitchers ever look like Kimmy, but she comes out to pitch, and I walk down the stairs and we start dancing. If you ever watch the show, it's very rare that in the beginning, the celebrity is more than arm's length away from the pro, because the celebrities get nervous and the pro can manhandle them. She was so sure because my confidence was so high that I could do it. 10 minutes before it, I'm like, I can't do it! I'm losing my mind. And so she's trying to get the routine changed and all this other stuff. Stage manager comes back and goes, we have no time, I can't change the routine. We're going live. 5 minutes, 3 minutes. And then finally she grabs me, she looks at me, she goes, knock it off! Stop feeling sorry for yourself. I just want you to remember one thing. Why did you say yes to do the show? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, your mom. And I'm like, you're right. What would your mom think of you being on the show? Would there be a smile on her face in heaven? And I said, absolutely. And I went out and didn't care. Didn't care if I fell down, didn't care what I did it, because it came back to my purpose of why I was doing it. And it was great. It worked out great. And, Kimmy ended up falling in love with me. She was so lucky. And I tell her that every day. We were so lucky. And we ended up getting married and kids. And it's a great, great story. So that hasn't happened to me on Shark Tank. Yeah, we've had some great investments. We've made some money. So for those of you that watch the show, we're really proud of it. Kevin and I actually started the show in Canada. Is that Canadian in the audience? Wow. Those are the two loudest Canadians in the world. Because normally Canadians are like, yes, welcome. So we did the show in Canada. It was a big show. It was a big hit. Nobody cared. Canadians are a little different than Americans, where, if you're famous in Canada, nobody, I used to go to restaurants and say, hi, I'm one of the biggest TV shows in Canada. Can I get a table? And they're like, do you have a reservation? Now that I'm on Shark Tank, I can get a table in most places. It's pretty easy. So the premise of the show is that we are the 5 smartest business people in all the land. There is nothing we don't know. So one time, this guy comes out and he's pitching a board game. It's kind of like Monopoly, and he's a Aboriginal guy. He's the leader of the Mohican people of one of the states, and he's pitching a board game. If you've ever watched our show, board games do not do well. It basically ends with Kevin saying to him, take it behind the barn and burn it. Funny, we never think about it again. 3 years later, I get hired by the Aboriginal peoples of North America to present their Entrepreneur of the Year award. And I'm late, as I'm running up the stage, I'm reading about the guy who won Entrepreneur of the Year award. He invented a board game, kind of like Monopoly, and has sold more games than Monopoly. It was the same guy. I love telling that story because for anybody in business, you hear no way more than you hear yes. And what I always love to tell people is, we're just 5 people. Just because we tell you no, if you get rejected by the sharks and that stops you, you were never meant to succeed. If you allow somebody else to determine your future and stop you, you're really not that committed. And so I love telling that story. Sometimes, though, we really do know our lights. It's like a disco. I am not going to dance. All right, man. No. But sometimes we really know our stuff. So, as you can tell, I have a hard time sitting still. I'm a pretty active guy. I have to sit in that chair 12 hours a day. So if there's a chance to pet a dog, kiss a baby, or try something, I'm your guy. So this lady comes out, and she's in this big plastic bubble that she's inside, and she's hopping around. I'm like, wow, that looks like fun. Can I try? She's like, sure. So I get in, I'm like, woo! It's really hard to breathe. And she goes, yes, it's completely airtight. Oh. And she goes, you want to hear another great feature? You can't open it from the inside. I'm like, okay, why? She goes, well, here's the premise. It's this big round ball. You go down to the water with your friend. You get in, your friend zips you up, and you float out on the water. It's completely airtight, so no water can get in, and you can't open it from the inside, so by accident, you don't open it. I'm like, oh, how long does the air last? She's like, well, depending on the sun, how big you are, 45 minutes, an hour-ish. I'm like, oh, okay. crazy premise. We get out of the water, my friend and I get in, float out of the water. He goes back up, has a beer, falls asleep. How do I get out? Oh. 2 years, $75,000 of our own money to get to that point. So think about that. We had 245,000 people apply for the show last year. We brought 230 or something to LA. That woman spent all that time to get to that point. I felt so bad for her after this year, after filming. I said, how did you not ask anybody? And here's the most common mistake people make. Her answer was, I don't understand it. I asked tons of people what they thought about it. I said, who did you ask? She said, I asked all my family and friends. And all my family and friends loved it. People are so afraid of rejection that they'll avoid it. People will take a fake yes over a firm no all day long. And you know when you go to your family and friends and ask them about your business ideas, you know what they're going to say to you? I love it. Because that's their job. Their job is to love you. If your family and friends is really that brutally honest with you all the time, and there are some, they're not going to be your friends that much longer. People don't ask a paying customer. They avoid it. So they ask family and friends. They do study groups. They do focus groups. You know, David started selling t-shirts. You know what he did? He stood in the corner, came up with a design. If he sold 5 for the day, it worked. If he sold none, it didn't work. That is one of the hardest concepts in business that we find is people are afraid of no. No is like this big, scary, risky thing that people do everything they can to avoid it. But business is really hard. You're going to hear a lot of rejection on starting a business. You're going to hear all kinds of reasons why it's not going to work. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to you. The difference between your business and the next business is you. Show me a small business that's in trouble, and I'll show you an owner that's in trouble. I'll show you an owner who's not focused. I'll show you an owner who doesn't have a game plan. I mean, scratch below the surface of almost any business, and you'll see an owner without discipline, without drive, without everything. And here's the great thing. Nobody cares what you look like. Success does not see color, sex, race, religion. Nobody cares where your dad came from. You know, when I started my business, here was what all my fancy business friends said to me. Well, you know, in order to make money in business, you know what you need? Money. And it's not what you know, it's who you know. My mom was a receptionist, and my dad swept floors in the factory. I was in trouble. But I just didn't believe that. I said, it doesn't matter. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. And if I'm going to get ahead, I got to become that guy that others want to know. So I didn't lie to myself. You know, I looked in the mirror and I said, I have nothing. I'm at 0. And I'm actually not at 0, I'm behind 0. And so what does that mean? It means I have to work way harder than everybody else. You know, one of the great sayings my dad always said to me, if you don't work hard, you'll be poor. But just because you work hard doesn't mean you're going to be rich. So you got to work smart. But if you don't work hard, you're going to be poor. And so I have to work harder. And the thing I always learned is the further down the privilege spectrum you are, the harder you got to work. The more you got to get out of it. So, you know, one of the big things I've always done is I used to sleep, I still don't sleep very much, I used to sleep like 4 or 5 hours a day. And people used to say to me, oh, I wish I could do that. And that always used to amaze me, like, I woke up one day and said, I don't want to sleep. He said, oh, you know, it must be great for you because you only sleep 4 or 5 hours a day and you never get tired. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired all the time. Do I not want sleep? But I made a decision a long, long time ago that it would be better to be tired than poor. So I did sleep. And I worked harder, and I had more failure, and I had more rejection, and all this other stuff. And eventually, you kind of build up on that, and you get to a point, you leverage that, and you just keep on going. And I've had a little bit of luck, which is really critical. But you know, it's the old adage: the harder I work, the more I stay in the game, the luckier I get. And I love that. I love that about this country. I moved here about 4 years ago. My kids are American, and you know, to the rest of the world, to a lot of people within the country, it's challenging, it's difficult. But I gotta tell you, to the rest of the world, this is the land of opportunity. This is the greatest country in the world. When my dad wanted to escape, he dreamt of America. Like to him, the streets were paved with gold, right? All he had to do was get here. And when we applied to come here, we couldn't get in. And so the guy said to my dad, says, yeah, we're not taking any more immigrants right now, but maybe go down the hall, because the Canadians will take anybody. True story. So my dad went down the hall. And thank God Canadians took us, because the next group was Australia. Because that's really far. So that's how we ended up in Canada. And, you know, it's an amazing story. My dad came from Yugoslavia, and he was an incredible guy. And if you would have met him, he would say to you he was a political prisoner. And it really wasn't. It sounded really romantic. My dad was a young guy who liked to go to bars and say bad things about communism. And when you do that in a communist country, they throw you in jail. And so, you know, most people would say, oh, that's cause and effect, I shouldn't do that again. My dad was like, oh, I'll show them. So he got thrown in jail 22 times. And the last time he got thrown in jail, they said, if you come back, you will never come back. Meaning, you know, that prison is where they sent you and you never existed. So my dad escaped from jail, which sounds really romantic, it was this little country, like you just opened the door and walked out. But he left, grabbed my mom and I, we crossed the border in the middle of the night to Italy, and just to make my life even more melodramatic, we got on a boat called the Cristoforo Colombo, landed in Halifax with one suitcase and about $20, $30. My mom remember she had a friend in Toronto. We took the train and we lived in someone's basement for 18 months. And that's how it started. And I gotta tell you, that kind of experience does one of two things to you. It either makes you feel a lot of pain or it gives you a lot of inspiration. What I find is people often come to me and say, gee, I wish I was as motivated as you. I wish I was as driven as you. And it amazes me because I wasn't like this when I was younger. My experience is when you face enough pain in your life, one of two things you're going to do. You're either going to change or you're going to give up. Now, you're not going to give up, wake up one day consciously and say you're going to give up, but you're going to become that person that starts complaining and making excuses for everything. And we all know somebody like that. Oh, you know, I'm not more successful because of fill in the blank. But if you have enough pain in your life and you really want to affect change, you're going to change. And I think for me, it all comes down to purpose. For me, it was easy. If I didn't do something with my life, the entire sacrifice and journey of my parents was useless. But everybody here has something like that. So for my dad and I, it was cars. So we come from a country where the hottest car in the world was a Yugo. Ever remember a Yugo? They used to give them away, and they still couldn't get rid of them. So when we come to Canada, we're walking down the street, we'll see this car come down the street, and I'm like, wow, what's that? So I say to my dad, what's that? He says, you don't mind, that's Cadillac. I'm like, what's a Cadillac? He's like, you don't mind, that's for rich people. I didn't know what rich people was, and I didn't know what Cadillac was, but in that moment, I knew I wanted both of those. So many years later, I have a little bit of success, and I buy a nice car, and I bring it to my dad's house, and I say, Mercedes, what do you think? And my dad would be like, it's nice. No Cadillac. And I buy a Rolls Royce or something, and I bring it over, and they're like, handmade in England, ooh, it's nice. No Cadillac. So one day, I call my dad and I say, look, I want you to come and help me build a fence. We're pretending we go to a wood store and we get lost and it's all set up. We walk into this big dealership, completely empty, except for a white Cadillac sedan DeVille in the middle. And I go up to him and I say to my dad, what do you think? He's like, it's beautiful. I said, would you like to sit in it? He says, no, my pants dirty. I'm like, it's okay, sit down. I open the door, he sits down, he puts his hands on the steering wheel, and you know that look. And I don't care whether it's a nicer house, a better education for your kids, taking care of your parents. There is something in this life that tells you you've made it. And it's personal. It doesn't matter what it means to somebody else, but to you, it means something. And to my dad, it was that car. He puts his hands on that steering wheel, and he's like, wow. And all those years of suffering and pain, it's there. So I say to him, what do you think? He's like, it's beautiful. One day. And I say, today's the day. And I took the keys. That's why I work so hard. That's why I don't sleep. That's why I put up with Kevin on Shark Tank. Thank you very much. I didn't start the speech.
We got a lot of slides there. So let's rewind the tape a little bit. If you go back to Canada, Shark Tank, how did you get on the show? What was the experience like? How did that work out?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm not a TV guy. Kevin is a TV guy. He's been on TV for many years. So the CBC, which was the network that did the show, calls me up and says, we'd like you to come in for a meeting. And they start telling me about the show called Dragon's Den, which is the Canadian version of Shark Tank. And I like, great, but I think they want me to invest in it. They're like, no, we want you to be on the show. I'm like, oh, wow. So I have to audition. I didn't realize I was auditioning. So we walk into this room. There's another guy sitting in a chair like this. He says, just sit in the chair. Some people are going to come out. Just ask her some business questions. I'm like, okay. So I sit next to this guy who I never met. First couple comes out. I go to ask a question. The guy starts right away. I'm like, oh, okay, he's been doing this longer. Next couple comes out, I start speaking, the guy cuts me off. I'm like, wow, that's really rude. Third couple comes out, the guy cuts me off again. I stand up and I say, if you cut me off one more time, I'm gonna take you outside and beat the crap out of you. That guy was Kevin. And they were both auditioning on the same day. That's how we met, and that's how we got on the show.
Probably 2,500 pitches or more, right, over the course of the...
So about 200 a year, about, 2,000, 2,500.
So as you think about how you process that, for all of us, you see that 7-minute edited version, and you're with them for an hour. How long does it take you to know whether you're in or out in that process?
It's a great question. We've been doing this for a long time. We have a chance to think about this. We can determine pretty quickly if we're engaged enough to listen. And what we mean by that is people make the mistake of trying to sell their product or their service before they sell themselves. Before you sell me on what you do, before you sell me on your company, sell me on yourself. And it sounds so self-evident, but it's all those little things, how you come out, it's how you talk to us, it's the cadence of your voice, it's whether you stand up straight or you're slouching, all those little subconscious things. By the time you begin to talk and you're about 3 minutes into it, we're either turned on, meaning we're open to listening, or you're not getting a deal. And you'll see that in the show. Sometimes people come out, they don't know their numbers, and we're like, you're an idiot, you don't know your numbers, how did you get here? The next person will come out, they don't know their numbers, and we're like, that's okay. We'll have accounting people to help you. What's the difference? We like, think of that. In this world where everything's moving to social media, everything is quick, will you not go out of your way for somebody you like? Now, will you do something wrong for somebody? No. But we all have a choice. Your customers have a choice who to buy from. Why wouldn't they buy from you? So you got to sell yourself.
That's a really good point. That social media has changing things. So this whole audience, by the way, is going to try to get in the line probably and sell you promotion funds. And sell you because they're very thrilled that you don't have a strategy that they're
You don't have a strategy. I feel so bad. I may fire somebody in marketing today.
So everyone here wants to reach a decision. Social media has made it very difficult and very crowded. And people don't answer the phones, and they don't want to take a meeting because people are so time constrained. How can people, and how do your sales folks, how do they reach the decision maker? What's that process look like today versus maybe 10 years ago when you started?
That's a great question. We go through this all the time because we have about 52 outbound salespeople. We have an inside sales group. And our success rate of getting in front of decision makers is 5 times greater than the industry average and any of our competitors. And part of it is, so I'll tell you what we've learned. Number one is consistency of strategy. We had a customer in the other day and he bought something from us. And I said to him, why did you buy the service from us? And how did you find us? He said, you called me. And I said, but we called you 23 times before. And he said, I didn't need the service the other 23 times. The 24th time you called, my board told me to buy a managed service, and you called. So think about that. The average sales rep would have called 5 times and given up. Our sales team rotates those people on a regular basis, calls on the 24th time, the guy picked up because he had a need. So that's part of it. The other one is we use LinkedIn a lot. I'm sure everybody in this room uses it as a tool, but we still believe in the telephone. We still believe in leaving a message with a follow-up email. We oftentimes also try to connect with people with a letter or a courier package. So think about me. I'm a busy guy. I've got multiple assistants. You're not going to get me on the phone. But my assistant will always put a courier package on my desk. Always. You know why? Because she doesn't know what it is. And I'm a weird guy. Sometimes I like things, sometimes I don't. So she never wants to throw anything away in case I might like it. So at least I see it. It's that level of engagement. And then what we also teach people is you don't have a lot of time to make that connection. So when you get somebody, don't waste time with things like, hi, how are you today? Because you know what every salesman in the world does? Hi, how are you today? So we try to get to that point and make an impression as quickly as we can. We talk about that for an hour, but it's an art. It's an art. And it's hard because you're going to hear a lot of no. And it's a hard job. You just got to do it.
So as you're thinking about the businesses you're going to invest in, lots of people in this room have their own business. In fact, I think you have to raise your hand. It's really a huge majority. Many of them are thinking about how do I go to the next step? I've got a business with myself and my spouse and my partner, and I'm thinking about how do I add a salesperson? How do I grow? And that's a scary thing sometimes for an entrepreneur. So how should people in this room think about growing their business and get out of that fear of not doing everything themselves and the fear of being unknown?
So I started multiple businesses. My first 3 businesses I started with no money at my house. And we survived and made money and grew. My last business was the only business I started with money. It's also the only business I lost money in for the first couple of years. Biggest fallacy is people think you need a lot of money to start a business. The problem with having too much money is you have unlimited choice. So when I started my business and I had no money, all I could focus on was sales. I knew if I didn't get an order, there was no tomorrow. So every day I woke up, the world was very clear to me. Get an order. I got one order, get a second order. When I started my company with money, you know what I worried about? Where's our office going to be? What kind of a printer are we going to get? What's our logo going to be? Like, you start worrying about stuff and you start doing too many things at once. When you're small to get big, there's only one thing you need. What do you think it is?
Sales.
Sales! Sales cures all ills. Everybody in this room, by the very fact that you started your own business, means you're resourceful. And you know what? You'll figure it out. You may not have the best accounting system. You may not even know accounting. You may not know all those other things. But you get an order, you know what you're going to do? Figure it out. Because that's what entrepreneurs do. We figure things out. Go out, sell something, worry about the rest of it.
One final question. So you're in the security business. There is a headline every day about some security issue. How scared should we be?
If you're going to buy something from me, extremely scared. No, it's a very, very scary world, and I've been doing it for 35 years in the security business, and we're just very lucky that what I do has become really interesting to people and very topical, and that's the luck part, where the macro market I'm in, I just want security. Even if it wasn't a big market, it's what I would be doing. It should become big, but I think small businesses need to worry less than big businesses, because the really scary part now is nation-state attacks, political attacks, those kind of things. The next world war will be waged online. The cost of tanks and people and all that stuff is prohibitive to most countries, but the cost of a cyber attack is a couple of really smart people that are highly educated and idealistic. So,
That's scary. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. Thank you very much.